go, lighting the fuse in another big booming hour of the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to have you along for the conversation. Remember, this show can have a triggering effect, triggering you to have a lot of patriotism and faith in this country. Three big things to know this hour. Number one, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced the largest seizure of fentanyl in American history, 12 kilos, including 3 million pills. You see, a secure border matters. Number two, a report on the 2017 attempted murder of several members of Congress finally revealed what we knew day one. It was a crazed leftist committing a terrorist act on American soil. Bottom line, the FBI lied. And number three, war. War. That's what it looks like. India retaliates against its neighbor Pakistan following an attack that killed more than 24 civilians there. Both countries, as you probably know, have nuclear weapons. They've battled each other since the end of World War II over various contested territories, including Kashmir. There were skirmishes reported there yesterday, too. But Tuesday's escalation brings into full relief the danger we're facing with nuclear-armed neighbors killing each other. And with both on a hair trigger, the world is watching. On those escalated hostilities between India and Pakistan, President Trump said this.
No, it's a shame. We just heard about it just as we were walking in the doors of the Oval. Just heard about it. I guess people knew something was going to happen based on a little bit of the past. They've been fighting for a long time. You know, they've been fighting for many, many decades and centuries, actually, if you really think about it. No, I just hope it ends very quickly.
Yes, this is just one of the many flashpoints currently in play around the world. The attacks by India and the return fire from Pakistan come as another nation, Iran, continues to pursue nuclear weapons. That's something that we have been discussing here. And even though nobody wants the United States involved in any other wars, there are some things that cannot be allowed to happen. That's one of them. Cannot. On Iran, President Trump says they will never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. Not now, not ever. Here he is.
This is really crunch time. I would tell you, for Iran and for their country, this is a very important time for Iran. This is the most important time in the history of Iran for Iran, and I hope they do what's right. I'd love to see a peace deal, a strong peace deal. They cannot have a nuclear weapon, but I would say that this is the single most important period in the history of Iran, which is a long history, and we want it to be a great country. Let it be a tremendously successful, rich country. They have everything you need. The people are incredible. They have vast amounts of oil and assets. We want it to be a successful country. We don't want to do anything that's going to get in the way of that, but they can't have a nuclear weapon. And if they choose to go a different route, it's going to be a very sad thing. And it's something we don't want to have to do, but we have no choice. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon. Do you understand that? Okay.
They're not going to have one, period. And all of these events follow the attack on Ben Gurion Airport, Israel. That happened over the weekend, attacked by Houthi terrorists that are still able to do damage even after being pounded by the U.S. military over the past few weeks. On the Houthis, the terrorist group funded by Iran, Trump added this.
We just informed them a little while ago, and all action is stopping. Some people probably haven't heard yet. You know, there are various people in various rather strategic locations. But by this moment, they should just about all know, Marco, I think, that the attacks are going to stop both ways. And that's pretty much it. But we've just informed everybody just a little while ago.
So if you're wondering what that's about, that comment comes after President Trump said the United States would suspend military operations against the Houthis in Yemen. That comes after the Houthis reportedly told the United States they don't want to fight anymore. I wouldn't either. My concern, of course, is that they're merely taking a break to retool and rearm. We've been down roads like this before, and there's no room for error. Otherwise, Americans and our allies end up getting killed. That we cannot allow either. But while sitting with the new Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, in the Oval Office, Trump said we will honor the agreement to stop the bombings, at least for now. And I say for now because the Houthis reportedly said they will no longer attack American ships. But if that changes, you can rest assured the ceasefire would end immediately. Now, speaking of Mark Carney, he did make his first visit to the White House as the new leader of Canada. And it was a very different tone than he's been using out on the campaign trail and in Canada, and certainly nothing like his demeanor during the very brief campaign that led him to his new position. Yeah, at the Oval Office, all that tough talk from Mark Carney disappeared. Compare and contrast. Here it is.
I don't think we can change Donald Trump. I don't think so. Not at this stage.
Get you to lift tariffs on Canada?
No,
Why not?
just the way it is.
And a person who draws his inspiration from President Trump, like Pierre Poilievre, will kneel down before him.
You're a transformational president, focus on the economy with a relentless focus on the American worker, securing your borders, ending the scourge of fentanyl and other opioids, and securing the world.
Before he stands up to him. He's in sync with President Trump.
I thought you were excellent, and I think we have a lot of things in common.
Pierre Poilievre is also choosing to be willfully blind to the many and growing threats that face our country.
We don't really want cars from Canada, and we put tariffs on cars from Canada, and at a certain point, it won't make economic sense for Canada to build those cars, and we don't want steel from Canada.
And that list went on, that conversation went on, but you can see it right there. All that tough talk from Carney, gone. Sitting with Donald Trump. However, Carney has some very serious issues to deal with at home. And President Trump was clear the tariffs he has placed on Canada will not be coming down anytime soon. And that's, as he put it, that's the way it is. Exactly what he said when asked about the tariffs he put up. That's the way it is. You heard him say it. But the bigger problem for Carney is the rising anger in his western provinces, most notably the resource-rich Alberta. And now Danielle Smith, the premier there, has called for a vote next year on independence for the wealthy, oil-rich province. I might remind you that I suggested President Trump calling Canada the 51st state might well have been the strategy to get the Liberals to stay in power, but cause the nation to splinter. That's what's happened. Those in Alberta and Manitoba, Saskatchewan, even British Columbia, not thrilled with Ottawa. And well, in 226, that can now happen. Alberta could split. The vote is coming. Carney seemed ill-equipped later in the day to deal with such questions. Listen to this.
I heard you say, there's a difference between the president's comments around Canada becoming a 51st state as a wish versus a reality. You told him that Canada was not for sale. But many Canadians are offended and deeply angered by the fact that he keeps repeating this comment. So have you asked the president to stop calling Canada the 51st state?
Yes. Today.
Okay, specifically, what did you ask him?
Exactly what you just said.
But what words did you use? How did you ask him?
Look, I gave you an answer. Do you have a follow-up?
I'll say. What was his answer?
Well, we'll look. I don't know. He's the president. He's his own person. I would go back to showing the difference between a wish and a reality. We're very clear.
Yeah. Good luck on that. We've got a lot more to talk about. Mark Carney loses the tough talk and kisses the ring. I'll be right back. A very busy day on Capitol Hill. You've got, of course, India going on. Modi, by the way, President Modi, will not be going to the Netherlands and several other spots, Croatia, Norway. He was going on a European trip. He's staying home now because of the military escalation with Pakistan. Carney comes to the Oval Office, and while all of that is going on, President Trump scored another major win in the Supreme Court, with the High Court siding with the president and his ban on transgender service members. Yes. It means that transgender individuals will remain banned on base and banned from the military. And for most people, that's just common sense. It really means that President Trump's executive order from January the 27th stays in place. It's another notice to the federal district court judges that even though they think they have the power to issue nationwide injunctions, they don't. Frankly, they never did. As we have discussed, this was going to get settled one way or another. Congress could reel it in, or SCOTUS could get it done. Right now, the Supremes are knocking these crazy injunctions down one at a time, but By the way, to restore just a little bit of hope for you, Amy Coney Barrett sided with the president and against transgender soldiers. So maybe there is still hope for her. We'll see. We'll see. All over official Washington, discussions over the president's mass deportation policies are being discussed, and the biggest argument for many is over so-called due process, speaking of the courts. And I posit this. Due process is to protect American citizens from a zealous government and overreach, not to keep people in the country illegally protected from deportation. And even the liberal networks seem to be getting it now, at least to a point. Here is a discussion from yesterday on MSNBC, believe it or not. I think you'll be a bit surprised. Listen.
Under the statute, it is permissible to remove aliens who arrive at the border and even those who have been here for 2 years, although that 2-year provision you talked about is the lesser used in practice. But just because it isn't used very often doesn't mean it's not a part of federal law that can be used. And it will be used because it's permitted under federal law. The Congress, in its infinite wisdom, decided that aliens who arrive at the border, and they define people who arrive at the border as people who have even been here 2 years, if they have fraudulent documents, if they don't have sufficient documents, they can be removed in an expedited fashion unless they seek asylum. So you don't run into those due process concerns, at least presumably because that statute, as it exists today, is still valid. Now, that's not what's at stake with the Venezuelans and the Alien Enemies Act. But the government's argument is that, hey, court, listen, you're telling us we need to provide notice. Well, take a look at this federal law. It says that we don't even need to have a hearing. It can happen within 24 hours. So if that's good enough for people who arrive here who are aliens, it's certainly okay for people that the president has deemed to be alien enemies.
I mean, what an argument. Presented by attorney Danny Savalas. Explained on MSNBC. You can be out in 24 hours. Don't need a hearing. Under that statute, boom, if it's good enough here, it'll be good enough over here. The answer went on to Abraham Garcia, the poster child for Democrats' love of illegal aliens. You know, the guy sent out to El Salvador that Senator Chris Van Hollen went and had margaritas with, that guy. That's where the argument went next on MSNBC. Here's what they said.
Saying, hey, bring him back, give him due process. But that due process may mean he can go to any of the other, 200 or so countries other than El Salvador. And that's why I'm cautioning folks. This whole idea of due process, everyone's saying it, well, this is what they're entitled to, the Supreme Court said. But as a criminal defense attorney, I can tell you that due process sometimes feels a little hollow. Going to your point about habeas, I file habeas petitions all the time. It's a slightly different statute because I'm usually dealing with criminal defendants. These are detainees. But the vast majority of habeas petitions are denied without even an evidentiary hearing. In fact, rare is the case where you get an evidentiary hearing. For criminal defense attorneys, any of you watching now, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I got a hearing on my habeas petition, because most of the time they get tossed. And it makes sense because anyone who knows prisoners or the way they litigate, they file a lot of habeas petitions. And your point is spot on. If there was a hearing for every habeas petition, the courts would shut down.
The courts would shut down. You can't do them all. Really? That's right. As he's played out there and laid out there, you don't need a hearing for each and every one of these folks. They're here illegally. They don't have the same due process protections that I, as an American citizen, or you as an American citizen, have. It's that simple. Your first act to be in America was to break the law to be here. The due process will have you shown the door. Oh, and there's one more thing here today. I want to sum it up with President Trump, all right? Give you a little bit of hope, a little bit of pep in your step. Here he is.
It helps when you know that borders are not racist, speech is not violence, America is good, terrorists are bad, men can never become women, police are not criminals, and criminals are not victims.
It's kind of just perfect, isn't it? Kind of just, in fact, go ahead and play that one more time. That's kind of just perfect. One more time, let's hear that.
It helps when you know that borders are not racist, speech is not violence, America is good, terrorists are bad, men can never become women, police are not criminals, and criminals are not victims.
Yeah. We're going to put a bow right there and leave it right there for Well, for this moment, makes you feel good, puts a smile on your face to start the day, doesn't it? Men, pay attention. I got something for you. Men, business leaders, entrepreneurs, this is the first ever men's only event packed with the most elite voices in business leadership and global strategy. Built to give you the edge to dominate in life and business right now. I want you to join Garrett White, the unstoppable founder of Wake Up Warrior, taking the stage at the Man in the Arena Tour. It's a blueprint to build, lead, and conquer. Seats are going fast. Don't get left behind. Lock in a ticket right now, maninthearenatour.com. It's happening right now. That's maninthearenatour.com. Step up, lead strong, win big, and join me. I'll be there. The first event, May 17th, Salt Lake City, Utah. 7,000 men, business leaders. What a marketing and networking opportunity for you. And to meet men that are of like mind, Christian men, trying to find the path forward. maninthearenatour.com. Check that out. I'll be right back on The Steve Gruber Show.